Welcome back to Wainsider, where we dive deep into the heart of the squared circle, peeling back the layers of drama, passion, and betrayal that make WWE a saga unlike any other. Tonight, we're tearing into a moment that's left the WWE universe reeling, a moment so raw, so gut-wrenching, that it's hard to even process. Adams Pearce, the Raw general manager, has just dropped a bombshell, firing Bronson Reed and Bron Breakker after their vicious attack on the original tribal chief, Roman Reigns. This isn't just a storyline twist, it's a seismic shift that's cracked the foundation of everything we thought we knew about power, loyalty, and legacy in WWE. Buckle up, because we're about to unpack the emotional history, the silent resentments, and the fallout that's going to echo for years. Let's start at the root of this chaos, because to understand this moment, we need to go back to the emotional undercurrents that have been simmering for months. Roman Reigns, the OTC, has been the unshakable pillar of WWE, carrying the weight of the bloodline's legacy on his shoulders. For years, he's been the head of the table, the man who held it all together through sheer force of will. But that kind of power comes with pressure that's been building, not just from opponents, but from within his own circle. The vision, that alliance of Seth Rollins, Bronson Reed, Bron Breakker, and Paul Heyman, was supposed to be a new force, a counterpoint to Reigns' dominance. But beneath the surface, there was always tension, a silent resentment that festered like a wound nobody acknowledged. Think about Bronson Reed for a second. This is a man who's clawed his way up from the Australian indie scene, a powerhouse who's carried the weight of being the first Australian NXT North American champion. He's a man of pride, of hunger, but also of quiet frustration. Reed's always been the muscle, the guy who delivers the tsunami and leaves bodies in his wake. But in the vision, was he ever truly valued? Or was he just a tool for Seth Rollins' schemes, a battering ram for someone else's glory? That kind of role eats at a man, especially one with Reed's ambition. You could see it in his eyes, in the way he carried himself, always a step behind, always in someone's shadow, whether it was Rollins or even Breakker. Please like, share and subscribe for more WWE content. And then there's Bron Breakker, the second-generation star with Steiner blood running through his veins. This is a guy who's been groomed for greatness, a former NXT champion, a two-time Intercontinental champion, and a man who's been called the future of WWE. But being the future comes with its own kind of pressure. Breakker's been compared to his father, Rick Steiner, and his uncle, Scott Steiner, at every turn. Every spear, every Steiner recliner, is a nod to that legacy, but it's also a chain around his neck. In the vision, he was supposed to be the prodigy, the one who'd outshine everyone. But did he feel like he was living up to that? Or was he starting to resent the constant comparisons, the expectation to be the next big thing while playing second fiddle to Rollins' ego? The emotional history here isn't just about these two men, it's about the collision of their ambitions with Roman Reigns' untouchable aura. Reigns has been the sun around which everyone else orbits, and that creates a kind of resentment that's hard to articulate. It's not just about titles or wins, it's about respect, about being seen. Reed and Breakker, for all their power, were never going to be the focal point while Reigns was in the picture. That silent resentment, that feeling of being undervalued, was like a powder keg waiting for a spark. And Paul Heyman, the so-called Oracle, was the one holding the match. Heyman's betrayal of Reigns at WrestleMania, aligning with Rollins and bringing Reed and Breakker into the fold, was the first crack in the dam. It was a signal that the old order was crumbling, that the new guard was ready to rise. But let's not forget the other side of this equation, Roman Reigns himself. The OTC isn't just a champion, he's a symbol of family, of legacy, of everything the bloodline stands for. For years, he's carried the weight of that responsibility, holding together a faction that's been through betrayals, losses, and triumphs. The pressure of being the tribal chief is immense, and it's not just about what happens in the ring. It's about the emotional toll of keeping everyone in line, of being the one who has to make the hard calls. Reigns has always projected strength, but you can't help but wonder if there's a part of him that's tired of the betrayals, tired of the constant challenges to his throne. That weariness, that quiet vulnerability, is what makes this moment so much more devastating. Now, let's build to the moment that changed everything. Picture the scene. Monday Night Raw, the crowd buzzing with anticipation. Roman Reigns is in the ring, cutting a promo about his upcoming match at Clash in Paris against Bronson Reed. He's intense, focused, but there's a flicker of something else in his eyes, maybe doubt, maybe exhaustion. Jey Uso, his cousin, is by his side, the two of them standing tall against the vision. The tension is thick, the kind of atmosphere where you know something's about to go down. Seth Rollins is smirking from the sidelines, Paul Heyman whispering in his ear. Reed and Breakker are there, too, their presence looming like storm clouds. The crowd senses it, but nobody's ready for what's coming. Then it happens, the attack. Out of nowhere, Bronson Reed charges, his massive frame barreling through the ring like a tidal wave. He hits Reigns with a tsunami that shakes the mat, leaving the OTC crumpled in a heap. But it doesn't stop there. Bron Breakker, with that predatory glint in his eyes, follows up with a spear that echoes his Steiner heritage. The crowd is stunned, gasping as Jey tries to intervene, only to be taken out by a double-team assault. Reed and Breakker don't just attack, they destroy. The ring becomes a battlefield, and Reigns, the man who's been untouchable for so long, is left broken. The Vision stands tall, Heyman clapping like a proud puppet master, as the show cuts to black. The shock of that moment can't be overstated. This wasn't just an attack, it was a statement. Reed and Breakker weren't just following orders, they were unleashing years of pent-up frustration, of being overlooked, of living in someone else's shadow. For Reed, it was a chance to prove he's more than just muscle. For Breakker, it was a declaration that he's not just a Steiner, he's Bron Breakker, a force of his own. But the cost of that statement was catastrophic. Adams Pearce, the Raw general manager, didn't hesitate. In a move that sent shockwaves through the WWE universe, he fired both men on the spot. No warnings, no second chances, just a cold, hard decision that left everyone reeling. Let's talk about Pearce for a moment, because his role in this can't be ignored. Adams Pearce isn't just a suit, he's a former wrestler, a man who understands the emotional weight of what happens in that ring. He's been the steady hand guiding Raw through chaos, but this was different. This was personal. Pearce has always respected Reigns, even when they've butted heads. Seeing the OTC laid out, seeing the legacy of the bloodline disrespected, hit him hard. His decision to fire Reed and Breakker wasn't just about maintaining order, it was about sending a message.